Hi, welcome back to Have Roots, We'll Travel. My name is Lisa Elvin Steltari, and I'm a genealogist and a passionate traveler. For the last several years, I've been focusing my attention on les filles du roi, the king's daughters, and les filles mariées. These are the founding grandmothers and mothers of Quebec, ultimately of Canada, and even more of North America. Truly, their influence is still felt today. I want to make certain that you know that if you have any kind of request for a particular fille mariée, the marriageable girls, or of les filles du roi, please let me know. Email me at lisa@haverootswilltravel.com and I'll put her on my list. Speaking of lists, we also have those Christmas lists coming up. So it is not too early to email me and see what we can do together for a special gift that you would like to do for someone you love. So let me know if I can be of any assistance and we can figure out what we can do together. Please also know that there are 3 ways that you can really help the channel. One is subscribe, like, and notify. That really, really helps. And I thank you to all of my subscribers, because we're at 1,800 and some. As I record this now, I'm hoping to get to 2,000 very shortly. And then we also have ways to help the channel grow. We have Coffee, which is kind of like an external platform where if you want to purchase, $5 or $1 or that sort of thing, it is a one-time payment. And then you also have Patreon, which is a monthly commitment, which also gets you other either kind of phone time with me or that sort of thing. And I think the levels are 1, 10, and 25. And then we also have my PayPal button that's right on my website where you can also look that up. And if you're interested in purchasing this video, look on my website. There is a spot in the shop area where it'll give you more information. With that being said, let's get started and find out about la fille mariée of this episode. Let us talk a little bit about les filles mariées. These girls, about 262 of them, come before les filles du roi. I always like to make sure that you are aware of this. Most of you who have followed my program and my episodes know this, but I just want to make sure. So between 1634 to 1662, about 28 years, we have about 262 girls that would come to New France and populate or help populate the country. It averages out to about 10 a year. Obviously, that's not enough to create a country. And that is why Jean Talon and the king eventually took it over in 1663 and said, we gotta speed things up a bit. And so, but however, les filles mariées are to be truly treasured because of the fact that they came when there really wasn't a country. They came without any kind of dowry or gifts from the king or anything. Yes, their passages were usually paid. Today's episode is number 90 in Les Filles Mariées. We are going to get to know Anne Antoinette de Liercourt. And she comes to us from a viewer request. I can't wait to get to know Anne Antoinette a little bit better. So Anne was born in 1632 in Beauvais, France, and her parents were Philippe de Liercourt and Jeanne Patin. Now she comes to us from the region of France known as Île-de-France, which literally means the top of France. And inside of that, we have the county or département of Oise. Now, it is about 47 miles from Paris, so that has that influence. There are about 128,000 people that live there, so it's no small, little commune. Beauvais was known to the Romans by the Gallo-Roman name of Caesar Magus, which is basically known. Magus is common for field, so it's almost like it was known as the Field of Caesar. It became a county in the 9th century. At the coronation of kings, the Bishop of Beauvais wore the royal mantle and went with the Bishop of Langres to raise the king from his throne to present him to the people. So this is a rich and resplendent history she comes from, very, very regal. You can feel it in the history of this town. Based upon her marriage date, we believe she came to New France in 1650. That is all we know. We don't know the circumstances. So let's have a look at the husband that she selected. The groom that she selected was Blaise Juillet d'Avignon, born 1611 in Avignon, France. His parents were Jean Juillet and Gabrielle Berberine. Now he is from a very interesting place called Provence, Alpes, Côte d'Azur, and he comes from the Département of Vauclair. There are about 90,000 people that live in Avignon. And what is Avignon famous for? That famous Avignon Bridge sur le pont d'Avignon. Between 1309 and 1377, during the Avignon papacy, 7 successive popes resided in Avignon, and in 1348, Pope Clement VI bought the town from Joanna of Naples. Papal control persisted until the French Revolution in 1791, when it became officially part of France. The city is now the capital of the Vaucluse Département and one of the few French cities to have preserved its city walls. This is also why Avignon is known as La Cité des Papes, the city-state of popes. The Church of Saint Agricole, which presumably Blaise was baptized in, dates from the 13th century. Extraordinary, extraordinary place to come from. Now, Blaise was truly an innovator. He enlisted to go to Canada in 1644, and he was to be paid £75 for 3 years every year for his contract of 3 years. So he had time to get ready for his eventual bride. They were married February 2nd, 1651 at Trois-Rivières. Now remember I said we were able to ascertain when she would have come to New France based on her marriage date. Obviously, she could not come during the winter because of the ice. So that is why most of the time she would have come, or any bride that was married in January and February would have come the preceding year. It's always wonderful to be able to access this incredible marriage contract and see it all, listed. And it's a very old document, so I was very happy that it did exist. Now they would settle at Montreal. Let's talk a little bit about this wonderful city that would become Montreal, but started off as Ville-Marie by the founder, Paul de Chamédy, Sœur de Maisonneuve, and was essentially a missionary center that was founded in May of 1642. The colony would not thrive, and it was on the verge of extinction when Chamédy decided to return to France to recruit 100 settlers that would be known as Le Grand Recrue. From this small group would evolve the Notre Dame Congregation from Sister Marguerite Bourgeois. When Montreal was founded, the new colonists were rapidly confronted by a fearsome enemy, the Iroquois. Unfortunately, there was no regular army on Montreal's soil until 1665, when the famous Carignan-Salieres regiments arrived. But in the meantime, local militias capable of resisting Iroquois attacks were set up. And on January 27, 1663, Chamédy de Maisonneuve created the militia of the Sainte Famille to protect Ville-Marie and its inhabitants. It was made up of 139 voluntary colonists divided into 20 squads. They really had to fight so hard to make sure. Remember that Montreal is this island, and the people at Quebec City and Trois-Rivières really thought of it as just a fool's gold, folly, and just absolutely, what were they doing on this island? It was almost impossible to protect. The Indians could come at any place. They were completely vulnerable. But the ultimate, obviously, we now know that the fact that it is an island and the fact that it has all of that water meant that you could get to it so easily. So that is what made it. The thing that almost destroyed it ultimately became its greatest greatest asset. And so you can see how beautiful Montreal, being from this region, I'm not from Montreal, I'm from a small little town just outside Montreal, Drummondville, Quebec. And every time I would go into Montreal, which I did frequently, and I lived there at some points in my life. So it really is just a remarkable, remarkable city. And that is the Vieux Montreal. There's an old Montreal that you can go and visit that is basically the same as when it was in the 1600s, a very old town, not quite as old as Quebec City, but definitely has its moments. It's been around since 1640s, and so many of the buildings, many of the landmarks are truly a testament to not only Montreal, but also of Quebec. They would go on to have 4 children. Mathurin would marry Urbain Baudroux and would have 8 children, 7 of whom made it to adulthood. Marie would marry Pierre Lecueilleur and would have 8 children, all of whom made it. Charles would marry Catherine Saint-Arc and would have 8 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. Louis married Catherine Selle and had 4 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. Catherine's mother was Belle Poisson, a fille mariée who we have not yet profiled. Thérèse was a compatriot of the very famous Dollard des Ormeaux, and unfortunately, while escaping the Iroquois in 1660 on a mission, he was drowned at Baie Saint Paul, and he was buried the next day at Montreal. And obviously, this was part in the spring of 1660. Dollard led an expedition up the Ottawa River to wage war on the Iroquois, and he was accompanied by 17 Frenchmen. And he arrived at the foot of Lonceau, where it's near the present-day Carillon, on May 1st and settled his troops at an abandoned Algonquin fort. He was then joined by 40 Huron and 4 Algonquin allies. Vastly outnumbered by the Iroquois, Dollard and his companions died at the Battle of Lonceau, somewhere between May 9th and May 12th. The exact nature or purpose of Dollard's 1660 expedition is uncertain. However, most historians agree that Dollard set out to conduct a small war, une petite guerre, against the Iroquois in order to delay or prevent altogether their imminent attack on Ville-Marie. For these reasons, Dollard is regarded as one of the saviors of Montreal and of New France. And obviously, Blaise did not participate in the Battle of Lonceau, but he was part of that expedition, if you will. He just died earlier. As you can imagine, Anne Antoinette would have to find a husband fairly quickly, based upon the fact she had 4 children and was now a widow. And the new groom that would come into her life, his name, Hugues Picard de La Fortune, and he was born in 1627 in Saint Colomba du Pont James. His parents were Gabriel Picard and Michel Clavier. He comes to us from Pays de la Loire region, and he is also from La Vendée département. Now, this particular place is obviously a very, very historic place, and it's actually has Irish kind of roots. In 543, it was settled, and it was just I went down a rabbit hole and tried to find out all about this, but obviously I had to stop. We need to discover Quebec, not all of these little places. But like I said, if this is your guy, you absolutely would need to. There's a lot to discover about Saint Colomba, and it definitely is a place to explore, shall we say. Remember I talked when I was describing Montreal and how Pierre de Chaumédy had to go and recruit 100 people to come and try to save? Well, guess who was on that boat? Hugues Picard de La Fortune was absolutely there, and he is on the monument for all of those absolute founders, if you will. I mean, they are actually the saviors of Montreal. So he was on that boat. Just amazing. So what makes this story so interesting, at least for me, is the fact that yes, Hughes did come. He was part of the Garde Recrue, but he actually, at the end of his contract, went back to France. And, history would have been different for this family if he had not returned. But he returned in 1659 to work with the Sulpicians, the missionaries, and the priests, if you will. And he had a lot of skills. He was a plowman, a long sawyer, and a carpenter. So he had those skills. So he would come back in 1659 just in time to be there. He wasn't married, and he was there when Anne Antoinette was so left a widow. So they were married June 30th, 1660, about a month and a half after Blaise was drowned. Now, let's have a look at the blended family, okay? So we have Hughes and Anne, 48, and it actually says in there, Veuve de Blaise Juillet. And then we have Marie Juillet, Charles Juillet, Louis Juillet, Michel Juillet, and then we have Anne Picard. So they have begun a new family. In 1667, we have Hughes and Anne Antoinette. And by then, but she's still listed as Liercourt. And now we do not know whose family it is. It's truly blended. So we have Marie, we have Charles, we have Louis, we have Michel. Think about it. And then we have, but they spelled it like a feminine, but really it's Michel. And then Anne, who was in that 1666 census. And then we've got Marguerite, 15 months. They actually have a domestic servant, Jean, who's 25 years old. They have 9 beasts or cattle, and they own 30 hectares, which is about 26 acres of land. Truly remarkable. Remember I talked about that militia that they formed? Well, guess who was there? Hughes was there to defend his city. He was part of the 12th squadron of the island Saint-Denis militia. Just a remarkable gentleman. They would go on to have 5 children. We have Michel, who married Mathieu Gervais and would have 10 children, all of whom survived, 9 of whom left descendants. We have Marianne, who married Charles Thiel and would have 8 children, all of whom survived. Marguerite married Jean Paris and would have 10 children, all of whom survived. Jacques Gabriel married Marie-Madeleine Rapin and would have 10 children, all of whom survived. Jacques married Marianne Lefebvre and would have 11 children, all of whom survived. In the 1681 census, we have Hughes, Picard, Antoinette, and then we have Marguerite, Jean, Jacques, Louis Juillet, domestic. So his stepson is now acting as a servant. So that's kind of interesting. 22 years of age. They have 1 gun. They have 9 bêtes à cornes, which are 9 goats or horned animals. And then they still have 30 hectares. So it's about 26 of land. Just remarkable couple, just amazing. Anne Antoinette would pass away in September of 1709 at the age of 75. She and Hughes were married 47 years at her passing. Now, hold on to your hats. She would leave us, between the 2 marriages, 408 descendants. So the odds are that most of you probably have a connection to this remarkable woman. And in fact, Hughes would die a few short months later in December of 1709, just telling us how connected these 2 were. You absolutely need to, if you want to explore Montreal and understand 17th century, not only Montreal, but the Filles du Roi experience, because whether it was Montreal or Quebec or 3 Rivers, it was all part of what they were confronted with. And this amazing book by Susan McNally, you need to read it and really study it. It's one of my favorites. I actually turn to it quite often. and kind of study it and kind of get in that groove, you know. So please have a look at that if you want to. Well, this is one of those episodes where afterwards I'm tired by listening to this woman and everything she went through. I am so inspired by this life. And this is one of those video or episodes where I truly went, wow. So any of you who can claim a heritage to this lady in particular should really stand up and be noticed, because this was a woman of substance. And to give us 458 descendants as of 1729, Lord, really amazing. Her tenacity, her ability to keep going on, the kind of husbands that she picked as well. I mean, these are amazing men. And these were amazing children and amazing descendancy. So thank you, Anne Antoinette. We really, really are so grateful that you came to our shores. You made such a difference in the history of Quebec and also of Montreal. So thank you for your gift, for your sacrifice, for most of all, gracing us with your presence on our shores. You have made really a great impact on so many of us. Thank you again for your inspiration. I also want to say thank you to my patrons and supporters, all and subscribers. All of you are amazing, and thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Every time I receive either an email or a message of support or a Patreon or anything, I'm tickled pink. So thank you so very, very much to all of you. And I will see you on episode 91 of this series. Until then, au revoir.